Now let's learn how to do subnetting questions. In this question, we have to find out the network address, broadcast address, subnet mask, number of hosts, number of user hosts, and the IP address is given by a slider notation /26. So first, write the IP address like this: 45.73.3.198, and /26 means number of ones will be 26. So I have written number of 1 here 26, 24 plus 2, that is 26, the remaining 0. Now let's find out the subnet mask. 1 8 time means 255 in decimal. 1 8 time in decimal is 255. In the same way, 1 8 time in binary to decimal is 255. Now number of 1 here is only 2. Now let's find out how to find out the subnet mask value in decimal by using this binary number having only 2 ones. Each bit has a corresponding value, that is it. First 0 means 0 has a value 1, second bit has a value 2, third 4, and the fourth 8, fifth 16. In this way, the value each bit has this corresponding value. It will be increased by double 1, so increased by double 2 to 4. It is increasing by 8. So we have to find out the subnet mask by using this binary numbers. So there are 2 ones, so we will sum up this 2 number, that is 128 plus 64, that is 192. If there are 3 ones, then we have sum up these 3 numbers. If there are 4 ones, then we have sum up this 4 number. In this way, we find out the subnet mask value. Now let's find out the network address. We have to look only the 255. If 255, then simply copy the IP address. 255, simply copy the IP address. If the subnet mask value is 255, then simply copy the IP address. If it is not, then we have to check a table. This is the table. If you can memorize it, that is very useful in calculating subnetting questions. So we have to check the subnet mask value, that is 192. In this table, it is here, that is 192. Number of hosts is 64. So first network and first subnet mask ID will be 0. After this, 64 plus 64 will be 128 plus 64 will be 192. And check the last number of the IP address, that is 198. It is fall in this subnet. Since 192 is greater than this, we will not select this one. We will select this smaller subnet number, that is 128. So we will select this value, and its network address will be this one, that is 128. And now let's find out the broadcast address. Simply it is same. If subnet mask value is 255, simply copy the IP address. 255, simply copy the IP address. 255, simply copy the IP address. If it is not, then 192. Check the table. 192, number of hosts 64. First subnet will be 0. Next will be 64 plus 64 will be 128 plus 64 will be 192. Check the last IP address value, that is 198. It falls in this subnet. If it is broadcast, then select the higher subnet, that is 182 minus 1, that is 191. So we will write like this. We will select the higher network and minus 1, and we will write like this. Now let's find out the number of hosts. Number of hosts means this 0 means host, 1 means network. So we have to count number of 0 here, that is 6. 2 to the power 6 equal to 64. So number of hosts equal to 2 to the power 6 equals 64. Number of usable hosts means we have to count number of zeros, that is 6. 2 to the power 6, that is 64, minus 2 means network address, subtracting network address and subtracting network address and broadcast address equal to 62. Number of subnet means number of network, that is number of network ID. There are two ones, so 2 to the power 2 equal to 4. Subnet means this is a network, so we have to count number of 1, that is 2 1, so 2 to the power 2 equal to 4. In this question, we have to find out the network address, broadcast address, number of hosts, number of user hosts, and the IP address and subnet mask is given. So we will simply write the IP address like this and the subnet mask. Now let's find out the network address. If the subnet mask value is 255, simply write the IP address. In the same way, 255, simply write the IP address. Subnet mask value is 255, simply write the IP address. If it is not, then check the table with the mask prefix 224, that is 224. So the number of hosts will be 32. So the first subnet will start from 0, next will be 32, plus 32 means 64, plus 32 means 96. In the same way, we will add 32 in each subnet and we will get the next subnets. Now let's check the last value of the IP address, that is 5. So it falls in this first 0 in this network, that is 0. Since this 5, it will fall in this network. So we will write this 0 in the network address. Now let's find out the broadcast address. If 255, simply copy the IP address. 255, simply copy the IP address. 255, simply copy the IP address, that is 2. If it is not, now check the table, that is 224 falls in this column and its number of hosts is 32. So first subnet will be 0, next will be 32 plus 32. In the same way, we will add 32 to get the next subnet. Now check the IP address, last value, that is 5, so it falls in this subnets. Where in case of broadcast address, we have to select the next subnet, that is 32 minus 1, that is 31. So we will write here 31. So this is the broadcast address. Now we have to convert this subnet mask into binary. 255 means 1 8 time, 255 means 1 8 time, 255 means 1 8 times. So if we convert 224 into 224 decimal into binary, it will be like this. If you can calculate like this, it is better. If you don't want to calculate, then memorize this table. So 224 here, the number, the binary will be this number. So we will write here this number. So now let's calculate the number of hosts. Number of hosts means 0. 1 ID means network ID means 1. So we have to count number of 0. That is here, the number of 0 here is 5. So 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 5 equal to 32. Number of zeros, that is 5. 2 to the power 5 equal to 32. Number of usable hosts means 2 to the power 5, that is number of zeros, that is 32 minus network address minus broadcast address, that is equal to 30. Number of subnet means number of ones, that is here the number of 1 here is 3. 2 to the power 3 equal to 8. We have to check only in the subnet mask number value which is not 255. So we have to count only in this subnet mask value that is not 255. So this 224 is not. So we will count only in this value. In this question also, we have to find out the network address and broadcast address, and the network and the IP address is given and the subnet mask is given. So we will simply write the IP address here, that is 10.0.5.125, and subnet mask is written here. So we have to find out the network address. If 255, then simply copy the IP address. If the subnet mask value is 255, simply copy the IP address, that is 0. If it is not, then we have to check the table. So it is 192. The number of hosts is 64. First subnet will be 0. Next will be 64 plus 64 will be 128 plus 64 will be 192. Number of subnet will be 4. Now let's check the since the value is since the subnet mask value that is not 255 is in the third number. So we will check the third number, that is 5. So it falls in this network. So we will write 0. So we will write here 0. Then remaining will be 0. We will write 0. If it is network address, the remaining will be, we have to write all zeros. Now let's find out the broadcast address. If 255, then simply copy the IP address. If 255, then simply copy the IP address. If not 192, then check the table. Then number of hosts is 64. First name will 0, next 64, then 128, then 192. So we are adding 64 to get the next subnet. Now this is in the subnetting is done in the third number. So we'll check the third number, that is 5. So it falls in this network. We have to check that if it is broadcast address, we have to select the next subnet, that is 64 minus 1, that is 63, and we have to write in the third number. Since subnetting is done in the third number, so we have to write this. We have to write here 63 in this number, that is minus 64 minus 1 is equal to 63. We have to write in the third number, and rest will be 255. If broadcast address, we have to write all rest to 255. Network address, we have to write remaining zeros. In this question, we have to find out network address, broadcast address, and the IP address and subnet mask given. So simply write the IP address like this and subnet mask like this, and subnetting is done here in the second number. So now let's find out the network address. If 255 subnet mask value is 255, simply copy the IP address. If it is not, so we will check the value, that is 192. It falls in this column. So number of hosts is 64. First subnet will be 0. Next subnet will be 64 plus 64 plus 64 will be 128. Next will be 192. And check the, since subnetting is done in the second number, so we will check the second number in the IP address, that is 0. It falls in this network. So we will write here 0. Then the rest of the number will be 0. In if network address, we will write the rest will be 0. In the same way, we will find the broadcast address 255. We will write IP address of the IP address, that is 10. If it is not, we will check table. So number of hosts will be 64. Pass will be 0. Next subnet will be 64. Next will be 128. That's adding 64. And subnetting is done in the second number. So we will check the second number, that is 0. It falls in this network. If it is broadcast address, we will select the higher network, that is higher subnet, that is 64 minus 1, that is 63. We will write here 63. The rest will be 255. In this way, we calculate subnetting questions. In this question, I am going to add some extra, that is to find out the number of hosts, number of usable hosts, and number of subnets. In order to calculate this one, we have to first convert this subnet mask into binary. When we convert this decimal 255 into binary, it will be 1 8 times. 1 and 2 will be these numbers. 0 will be 0 8 times. 0 will be 0 8 times. We have to check the value of the subnet in order number in which subnetting is done. The subnetting is done in this second value, that is here, that is 192. We have to count the number of zeros in the second value, third value, and the fourth value. So here it is 8 plus 6. 8 16 plus 6 equal to 22. 2 to the power 22 equal to this number. Number of usable hosts means 2 to the power 22. That is 8 16 plus 6 22 equal to this, minus 2 means subtracting network address and broadcast address will be number will this one. Number of subnet means number of subnets. We have to calculate only the number of ones in which the subnetting is done. Since subnetting is done in the second value, we have to count the number of 1. So number of 1 here is 2. 2 to the power 2 equal to 4. This is the final table we have to memorize for doing subnetting. Now let's learn how this table is prepared. We know that number in an IP address can change from 0 up to 255. So summing up equal to 256. So the first number is 256. We divide it by 2 into half equal to 128. In the same way, we divide each column by 2. So the number of hosts is prepared like this. Now the usable host, we subtract 2 ID, that is we subtract network ID and the host ID, that is 256 minus 2 equal to 254, 128 minus 2 equal to 126, 64 minus 2 equal to 62. In the same way, we subtract 2 from each column. Now the mask prefix, how this is prepared. First mask prefix number will be 0, then came 128. Now let's learn how this 128 is derived. We know that there are 8 bits in any number of an IP address or subnet mask. Each bit has a corresponding value. First correspond a value, that is 1, second bit 2, third bit 4, fourth bit will be 8. So every bit has a corresponding value. This is the corresponding value. So we write this 128. Next is 192. We sum up this 128 plus 64 is 192. 224 up to 128 plus 64 plus 32. In the same way, 240 we sum up this 4 numbers. 248 we sum up to 8. 252 we sum up to 4. 254 we sum up to 2. 255 we sum up to 128 to 1. So the binary of 0 will be like this. All the corresponding binary will be like this. There is here 0 only, all are 0. Then 1 time, 1 2. So corresponding which change, increase the number of ones. This is the binary. Now the number of subnets. Subnet here means we have to count number of 1. Here it is 1. 2 to the power 1 equal to 2. That is, we divide into 2 networks. Number of here 1 here is 2. 2 to the power 4 equal to 4. 2 to the power 3 equal to, we divide the network into 8. So we increase 1, 2, up double. 2 to the power 4, 8, then 16, 32, doubling, multiply by 2, 64, 128 and 256. In this way we prepare this table. In order to check whether my subnetting done is correct or not, then you can check online. Simply select this IP subnet calculator and select the IP subnet calculator. Then select the class of the IP. So I will select class A for the example. So I will select the subnet mask, that is 255.182. That is 255.182, that is /10. Then in this you have to type the IP address of the starting, the IP address in the question. Then click on calculate. Then it will calculate all the answer. So number of hosts, number of visible hosts, subnet marks, and the network address, broadcast address, IP range. In this way we can check whether my subnetting done is correct or wrong.